Hello Internet! We interrupt your regularly scheduled Cinema Brawls to bring you a quick update in the world of Cinema Brawls. When the idea for this channel was originally conceived, we wanted it to be a fast-paced deliberation between two films, where the three of us argue and provide evidence for why we believe a certain film should win. We came up with the score out of 10 system because we felt it was the fairest way for all of our opinions to be represented, but for a movie to still come out on top based on the final score. We're doing away with that. The past few videos where we used the score out of 10 system have been overly long and, well, boring. And while we've made the best of it by adding effects and cutting down the conversation while editing, we wanted to change our scoring system so it's more entertaining for you, the viewer, and easier for us to edit. An easier editing process means more time to create more content, thus benefiting you, the viewer, even further. The scoring system will work as follows. When deliberating over a specific category, instead of giving each individual film an average score out of 10 each time, we will simply decide which film takes the category. Plain and simple. Which film had the better story? This one. We discuss, and we move on. This will add a more argumentative edge to our discussions and add more stakes to the brawl for each film. Hopefully it will make our videos more entertaining for you, the viewer, as mentioned earlier. With this change in the scoring system also comes an exciting addition to our discussions. We will be adding a fifth category to deliberate on, to hopefully explore more of what each film can offer cinematically, as well as eliminate the possibility of a draw occurring. This fifth category will be called Emotional Impact. Here, we'll talk about what each respective film means to us personally, talking about its visual tone, the feelings that accompany it, and its resonating message to the audience, if it successfully leaves one at all. The film to ultimately win the brawl will be the film that takes the most categories. There will also be a possibility of a film getting a cinema knockout. What this means is if a film takes the first three main categories, there's no need to talk about the other two secondary categories. Because, even if the opposing film were to take the last two categories, the first film already has three and would win anyway. We will be implementing this new scoring system on this very episode, right now, the one you're watching. We are always looking for new ways to improve Cinema Brawl and make it more entertaining for you, the viewer. As always, thank you so much for your support, and enjoy the episode.
Hey guys, welcome to Cinema Brawls. Today we are discussing the long-awaited Pan's Labyrinth versus Super 8. Film about a supermax prison where 8 inmates try to escape.
No. Super 8 is actually a film directed by J.J. Abrams. Came out in 2011 and is about some kids who are trying to film just a little home video thing and accidentally watch a train crash and an alien thing. Whatever. It's been a while.
I remember aliens. And then you got Pan's Labyrinth, which is about a little girl who wanders into a labyrinth and has to complete tasks for a monster, or I guess a faun, as they call them.
Directed by Guillermo. You know what I'm trying to say.
Directed by Guillermo del Toro.
That one.
I'm sorry, the Oscar-winning Guillermo del Toro.
Cool.
Shall we get right into it then?
All right.
Andy. On your mark, get set, brawl.
Oh, it's late tonight, guys.
Let's go ahead and start with some first impressions, Jake.
Well, first impressions on both movies, I think they're both good, fun movies. For something that is in Spanish entirely, Pan's Labyrinth is way too easy to watch.
Like, seriously, though?
Yeah, especially since I don't speak a lick of Spanish. Super 8, I actually really enjoyed. It feels like the whole thing is at nighttime. I don't know why, but that gives me some kind of weird, chill vibe. And I like giant aliens, and yeah, it was like Goonie-esque, so.
If you could pick one to probably win.
Probably Pan's Labyrinth, but my mind is open to change at this point.
Excellent, because I am on the fence, honestly. I think both have good strengths in different areas, and I'm also open to change. But I will probably be fighting for Super 8 just for argument's sake.
Well, good, because while you guys are on the fence, I built the fence to keep losers of you guys out of my Pan's Labyrinth fan club. Okay, that movie is fantastic. Severely underwatched. It's like everyone knows that it's a great movie, but just like very few people have watched it. It's on Netflix. Watch it right now, please.
Just for your audacity in calling me wrong, I'm taking Super 8's side.
Yay!
Okay. By the end of this, I will either prove you wrong or have killed Matt trying.
I am Matt, and I approve of this gesture.
Let's get into it.
Shall we? All right, let's start with the story.
So, in Pan's Labyrinth, the story is, of course, the plot of the movie is that a little girl is taken with her mother to meet her new stepfather, who is a terrible person, and she escapes to a fantasy land kind of a thing. We're not totally sure if it's a dream or if it's reality or, you know, what's going on there. I personally think that it is all metaphorical on multiple levels, and I love it for that. It is all in Spanish, but it's still very easy to follow. Like, there was one part where I even like turned off the subtitles just to see if I could still follow it, and it's pretty clear what's happening, even though I have no idea what they're saying.
Here's the thing I like about Pan's Labyrinth, is, as you mentioned, it's metaphorical, but it can also be taken literal, and that's totally up for debate. Like, you can look at the movie either way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And, I mean, I actually like to look at it literally, like, things really happened. I mean, What's-Her-Bucket's stepfather, found a man drink underneath the bed, and he threw it into the fire. And,
Right.
I mean, he wasn't like, I don't know why he wasn't like distraught by that little root thing, so that was creepy.
It was creepy as
It
fuck.
was super creepy.
This is also just like a creepy guy.
Yeah, he is, and maybe he's seen some crap and just doesn't question it.
True.
But I mean, the fact of the matter is, he found something magical that was under the bed given to her by the fawn.
But like, remember at the end though is when she runs into the labyrinth and the fawn is there, and then Vidal, is going after her. He doesn't see the fawn. We actually see from his point of view Ophelia just talking to nothing.
We do. And again, there's a lot of little moments like that leave it up for conjunction. But that's one of the great parts about Pan's Labyrinth's story, is that it is metaphorical. It is open for interpretation. You can look at it the way you want.
See, my only problem with the story of Pan's Labyrinth is that I feel like there were two separate stories that were just kind of running alongside each other. And they didn't really seem to mesh until the end, but even then, not so much. Like, so we have obviously the whole fantastical element of it. Ophelia is supposedly some kind of long lost princess or something, and she has to complete these tasks to go back or whatever. I don't know. And then there's the whole thing with her stepfather, Captain Vidal, and the whole guerrilla wars throughout Spain. More of the political intense story. Both are great stories. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're great stories. I just feel like they didn't fight with each other. They just kind of were very separate, in my opinion. I would have rather have, all fantastical elements, or all the political elements. But that's just me. I I felt like Super 8 was a little bit more straightforward. That may or may not hurt the film, but that's why I liked it.
Well, it being straightforward makes it more fun.
It's true, yeah.
I mean, granted, you could look at it and say, Pan's Labyrinth had a better story because it was more depth, but sometimes depth isn't fun.
Depth is
And
not
I want to
true.
watch my movie for the easy, fun along ride that is little children, getting involved with alien crap.
See, and don't get me wrong, the plot of the story of Super 8 is fun. The filmmaking getting there is not. But with Guillermo del Toro's movies, especially Pan's Labyrinth, which I still think is his best, though maybe followed closely by Pacific Rim, that was super cool. And it kind of speaks to, from what I've seen, it kind of speaks to his relationship with Spain and with the history of the country. He draws a lot of inspirations from the historical events of Spain, and then also just this fantastic imagination, like coming up with those creatures, those designs, not only in this movie but in all of his movies, and just building this amazing world that then this fabulous story takes place in. I think that the story for Pan's Labyrinth is a lot deeper and a lot richer of a story than Super 8.
See, consider this though. First time watching Super 8, I'll admit it was very shallow. It was like, okay, some kids, they get in trouble with an alien somehow, and it's weird and whatever.
Still not sure.
And I'm not gonna lie, there are definitely a lot of cliches in this movie. But I feel like going back and watching it this second time in preparation for this, I realized that there's kind of a lot more depth. And so, hear me out. One, I think it's a little bit more relatable, especially to us. It's a group of kids, teenagers, making movies. That was us. And it's still us. I mean, it's relatable to me in that sense. What if the movie was really about the process of filmmaking and more of like this kid, this filmmaker's vision of what he wants? He wants something crazy to happen, like an alien busting out of a train out of nowhere, and there's this big conspiracy, and he's the one that talks to the alien at the end and sends it home. That couldn't happen in real life. That would never happen in real life. The alien would just be like, stupid kid. But what if it was about the kid as a filmmaker and his vision of what he wants and what is actually happening? Because we see at the end the movie that they make on the Super 8 camera, and it's fine, but it seems like he kind of grew into himself as a filmmaker and was comfortable with his vision and what came out of it. Okay. I think that's what it's about.
I get what you're saying, but that is conjecture. Conjecture. Point is, I think you're full of crap. I think you're reading way too into that.
I think it's a lot deeper than people give it credit for. Especially this guy.
I think the movie's story is a comparison of depth versus entertainment. Super 8 was entertaining. Pan's Labyrinth had depth in its story.
But which one is better?
And I don't think you can come out and say, oh yeah, Pan's Labyrinth was such a fun ride. It was depressing. But you also can't go into Super 8 and say it had so much depth. Maybe it did more than what we're looking at, but it didn't. And so, are we watching the movie's story? Do we like the story for the depth, or do we like it for the entertainment?
So let's vote.
And it depends on what you're going into the story for.
So let's vote. Which film takes the story category? I am voting Super 8. I know it's not terribly deep, but I like it better than Pan's Labyrinth. I'm sticking to it.
I think Pan's Labyrinth is a better story.
I'm going to vote Pan's Labyrinth too, because it has more to it, just like all together, and it does hold up on entertainment as well.
Okay, so then
On to characters.
Yeah.
This is where I was the most on the fence, because on one hand, similar to the story of Super 8, it's a lot more straightforward. I know exactly who these kids are. I know exactly what they want. I don't need to think too deeply on it. However, the development in the characters in Pan's Labyrinth, so much better. Like, you see Ophelia learn to grow and be herself without her mother. You see Captain Vidal notice how he's becoming this monster, and then you see Mercedes, learn to stand up for herself and her country and what she believes in. So the arcs and the development are a lot bigger in Pan's Labyrinth, but it takes a while to get there. You immediately relate more to the characters of Super 8 and can just be along with them for the ride.
I mean, on one hand, I agree with you a little bit, because I said,
make points.
you make good points, and I hate to say that, but you do. And I like the characters in Super 8 because, like you said, they were us. They were us in junior high and high school wanting to make movies and stuff like that, and being really bad at it, but still trying. But they're also super unlikable little kids. They're just so annoying most of the time.
I think the characters in Pan's Labyrinth are interesting just to look at. I mean, you look at the freaking war general who comes in and just doesn't care about anybody or anything and will kill and screw people over. That dude is an interesting character. He's a bad character.
He's a bad guy.
And you feel bad for Ophelia because she is literally the only person in that world besides maybe that baby that's like even remotely a person you want to sympathize with.
Right? Oh,
But I still didn't, though. She was just too whiny.
That's fair. If you didn't sympathize with her, I mean, I thought the characters were at least interesting, but maybe you didn't connect to them. And that's a part of these characters.
Did you think that she was more whiny than the kids in Super 8?
All right. No, enough said. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, you know what character in Super 8 I want to look at is the dude who drove onto the train tracks.
Oh, the science teacher?
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you get out? You could have gotten out. Was it that bad of a life? You're like, yeah, I want to save everybody, but I'm just going to kill myself.
He could have derailed the train anyway, you're right.
I want to know his backstory. I don't know what's going on with him.
Too bad it's part of this stupid mystery box.
Yeah, but you also have the alien who's kind of a cool character, and you got the girl who's got some depth to her because of her crappy father.
She honestly had the most depth to her.
Right.
The most sympathy.
And at least somebody in that, had depth. But if we're going characters...
Dude,
neither movie has much going for them.
Maybe we're wrong. Maybe you have different thoughts.
Dude, Pan's Labyrinth have such deep characters, and if we're talking about side characters that I want a backstory for, I want a backstory for that alien hand dude guy.
Mm-hmm.
What's his deal? Why is he there?
I know.
Guillermo del Toro likes people without noses.
All right, Daniel, what's your vote for characters? Who takes it?
I think Pan's Labyrinth again.
Jake.
I agree.
All right.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Wait, what was your vote?
It doesn't really matter, but I still want to hear it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Pan's Labyrinth.
All right, there you go.
Cool.
Pan's Labyrinth. Well, Pan's Labyrinth only needs one more category to win.
I'm not letting that happen because the next one is rewatchability, and Super 8 is infinitely more rewatchable.
I would agree with that.
I would not.
Pan's Labyrinth was more rewatchable.
You just sided with me on that.
Oh, sorry. Super 8 was more rewatchable.
We need to find out our own opinions and we will get back to you.
No, sorry. I meant to say Super 8's way more rewatchable.
See, Super 8 is a little more mindless, yes, but that's what I want when talking about movies being more rewatchable.
Just the fact that it's in English.
That too. No, nothing wrong with movies being in Spanish. I just don't speak Spanish. I don't understand Spanish.
I don't either.
See, Pan's Labyrinth is fine. It's a deep story and it's great, but that story is heavy, and it's not something I want to swallow every day. Especially, it's not something that I want to just put on in the background while I'm doing something else. Yeah. Because I have to be glued to the screen just to understand what people are saying.
Right. And there's no denying that if you go into Super 8 and watch that, it's like, wow, that was a fun movie. I could watch that again in a couple months.
Right. And like we were saying before, is Pan's Labyrinth is very deep. There are a lot of layers to it. To me, that's intimidating. To go in and be like, okay, which layer are we going to peel back? It's almost impossible to say.
And for Pan's Labyrinth, you probably do have to watch it a couple times to get everything. And so it does have that element of rewatchability there, because you want to get everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say I would be much more willing on a chill night to just sit down and put in Super 8 rather than say, let's take a hit at Pan's Labyrinth.
I personally would much rather watch Pan's Labyrinth just because I didn't like Super 8. I just didn't.
I don't think the director should affect the movie as much as Daniel lets it. I agree, Guillermo del Toro is a better director, but that doesn't change the fact that if I'm bored one night, I would rather put in Super 8 than Pan's Labyrinth.
I'm voting for Super 8.
I am also voting for Super 8.
I'm voting for Pan's Labyrinth just to have that on the record. I know that Super 8 takes this category, but still.
On to the next.
Merits and genre.
Okay, what genre is Super 8? Just like sci-fi fantasy?
Sci-fi, mystery, something like that.
I would say it did not do much for the genre.
No, it didn't. And like it's really like an homage to like the 80s kids adventure movies like The Goonies, E.T., things like that.
In terms of merits and genre, I mean, it goes to Pan's Labyrinth. I mean, it did a lot more for fantasy. I mean, people still talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas Super 8, I mean, it came out, it had its, moment of fame.
People remembered it at least.
Now it's done. It's gone. Nobody really brings it up as much.
Alright, so Pan's Labyrinth has won. We're still going to talk about our last category to see if Super 8 can come close.
See, Pan's Labyrinth at this point is going to win. It has 3 out of 5 categories, which is the majority. But since it didn't win the first 3 categories, it's not a full-blown cinema knockout. We have to talk about the last one now.
We have to.
Which is the new one, Emotional Impact.
Wow. Did you cry during Pan's Labyrinth and or feel uncomfortable?
Absolutely.
I did one of those things, yes.
Because
at the same time.
Simultaneously. It was.
I feel like Pan's Labyrinth was set out to make you feel, or understand at least some of the horrors of at least the Spanish Civil War, if not, war, and how that can take effect on especially like children. But yeah, I felt like everything sucked, and I think that's how I was supposed to feel while I was watching the movie.
Oh yeah. There were parts that made me squirm. Like some parts in the movie, like the fantasy parts, the guy with the weird eyes and stuff like that. That part was kind of creepy and stuff like that, but it wasn't nearly as scary as the quote-unquote real world and what was really going on.
Real monsters.
Yeah. Pan's Labyrinth does a fantastic job of man as the real monster. And it's fabulous.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job with their emotional impact.
This is, in all intents and purposes, Guillermo del Toro's passion project. Like, this has ties and influences from his childhood of thinking he saw a ghost or a dream he had where a fawn literally comes out from behind his wardrobe and tells him to go do some crazy thing. Like, this is his life, his experiences put to screen. And so there is a lot more heart, and you see that. Super 8 is not a bad film in any way, but this was far from J.J. Abrams' passion project. It was like, this is a cool idea. Yeah, sure, I'll direct it. Why not? Make a quick buck.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I felt like I was supposed to have fun watching the movie. I did. I've had more fun watching other movies. True.
I've had more fun watching movies than Pan's Labyrinth, but I enjoyed the experience of Pan's Labyrinth immensely.
What do you vote?
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Labyrinths of Pan.
And suffice it to say that Pan's Labyrinth is our winner. It took 4 out of the 5 categories.
Alright, well, guys, if you have any comments or suggestions or anything you want to add to that whole discussion, let us know. But now it's time to draw from the Cinema Bowl.
We should like come up with a song or something for the Cinema Bowl.
Like that.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
All right.
Jake, what do we got?
You first.
I'm scared.
Me too. Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay, that's
The Gene Wilder one. We should.
Oh, the Gene Wilder one?
It's not the Johnny Depp one.
I know! But now Planet of the Apes is for sure gonna lose, and I love that movie.
it's. I mean, it's. We'll discuss it.
Next time on Cinema Brawls.
Point is, you're telling me a man of his skill is a worse director than the sidekick from Jimmy Kimmel.
I'm sorry.
What the freak are you talking about?
Do you mean
Guillermo?
Guillermo del Toro?
Anyway.
Get out. No, stop. Get out.